Medical Monday. This is one of those topics that people don't like to talk about, but we should. The United States has the highest rate of STD infections in the industrialized world. And young people between the ages of 15 to 24 account for 50% of those cases. So how are two young students raising awareness and trying to bring down those numbers? Here to explain, please welcome Albert Schweitzer Fellows Lisa Thoyakulathu and Jennifer Lee. Good morning. Let's start with something completely unrelated. Your last name, Thoyakulathu, we went over it in the green room over and over again. In fact, your family's the only one in the country that you know of that has that name.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 in 4.
Wow.
4 people in the country.
Yeah, you're easy to find in the phone book. right there. Yeah. All right, let's first talk about what the Albert Schweitzer Foundation is about.
Yeah. Okay, so the Albert Schweitzer Fellowship is named after Albert Schweitzer himself. He was a man who dedicated his life to service. He recognized the unmet health disparity between healthcare and the underserved population. And so this fellowship provides students an opportunity to take their passion and address the unmet health needs.
Yeah, and you all do it in such creative different ways that people might not be paying attention to, and then all of a sudden you realize, yeah, that can really make a difference. Okay, Chill Spot and the Blue Book, what is that?
Okay, so Chill Spot is basically a HIV support group that we came up for people that are young here in Houston that found themselves that are HIV positive. And
a lot of those young folks are the group that missed out on really seeing how first took over this country. They missed that, and now they assume that, oh, there's a cure for it. It's all good now. There's not necessarily a cure. There's a better treatment, but not necessarily a cure.
Absolutely. I mean, I think when you miss out on that whole decade in the 80s, seeing people die from HIV, you really lack the kind of like the gravity of how much HIV affects your life and how much it's going to dictate a lot of how you deal with life. So the fact that you have to take medication every single day.
And some people tolerate it well, some people don't. It's not easy just because you have that medication.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, by no means do I want to suggest that it's a death sentence. We know people, we have Magic Johnson, right, who lived with HIV for 30 years and had a utterly productive and healthy life.
Right.
But there's the side effects from the HIV medication it's not a joke, you know.
But even having to disclose to somebody you may be dating, you have to, disclose that. So that it does become tough. You're right. It's not a death sentence. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But you still need that support group, and that's what the Chill Spot and the Blue Book does.
Yeah, exactly. I think young people have the sense of invincibility that they don't think anything will happen to them. And when they find out that they have this diagnosis, they're in complete denial. They don't want to kind of deal with the responsibility. They lose their childhood almost, by having the diagnosis. And so I was
going to say, this way you have that support. You also have resources as well. Now, Jennifer, tell me about your project in particular.
So my project is focusing on advocating and informing parents and teens about HPV and the vaccine. HPV is actually the most commonly transmitted sexual disease out there. People talk about herpes, people talk about HPV or HIV, but no one really talks about HPV. And what's astounding is that almost everyone who is sexually active will contract a form of HPV at some point in their life.
Which can lie dormant, and people might not know they have it, but it manifests itself in different ways later down the road.
Yes, exactly, like cancer. And so my project focuses on getting teens vaccinated. This vaccine is what I like to think of as an anti-cancer vaccine. So it helps prevent cancer down the road. And usually vaccines don't really prevent cancer, and so this is one of its kind, and so I think it's really important for teens to get vaccinated.
We certainly know that vaccines have saved so much of the world, but there's still the component that looks at a vaccine as something that, that's bad, but having to go in and educate people.
Exactly.
And take the politics out of it and say, and also take the morality out of it, because I know a lot of parents are like, wait a minute, no, my child's not going to need that, because they can come to me when they're 30, that's when they'll start, right?
Exactly.
Just being realistic and having to go in and explain things to people.
Exactly, and people parents often have this misconception, like you were talking about, where HPV will, help their child actually get sexually active. But the truth is that the reason, physicians are advocating for teens to get vaccinated early is so that they can build immunity to it, so that when they are sexually active, they will be protected against it.
Yeah, be ahead of the game, and as you talked about earlier, some preventive measures.
Exactly.
All right, ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We talked about today, just log on to greatdayhouston.com. Well, Chris Boykins of the Boykins Youth Foundation is here today to tell us about the backpack drive and free